Welcome back to Sha Tin, the scene of three Group 1s on Sunday. The second of them is the Champions Mile, and what a clash this is going to be with Mr. Brightside in town, a 9-time Group 1 winner, Voyage Bubble. He's won his last four, three of them Group 1 races. Beauty Eternal won the race last year. Galaxy Patch, well, he beat Voyage Bubble first up this season, but it's now 4-1 to Voyage Bubble in the clashes as they've continued on through the season. Royal patronage in town from Australia, Gomon from Bahrain, and we head down to My Wish, who went so close in the Derby from wide draw. He's come up with barrier number 1 in the Champions Mile. Our focus, though, is Ricky Yu. Nick Child ventured down to the stables to talk to Ricky and meet the bubble.
Voyage Bubble's going to see it out, and he's going to be the king of the mile. He won it last year, and again he wins the Stewards Cup. Says James McDonald, and grab the City Hong Kong Gold Cup. Voyage Bubble.
It's 3 Group 1s in a row.
Ricky Yu, we're not too far away from a huge meeting in the calendar, of course. FWD Champions Day. Voyage Bubble is your stable star. And first of all, how is the horse on the back of those super wins most recently?
He's fine. He's doing well after his last start. He's on track every morning. Always finishes feet and tick all the boxes.
His win last time over the 2000, Ricky, I mean, that was the culmination of 3 Group 1s on the bounce. He's won all 3 of them. I mean, has he gone to another level, this horse? I mean, he just continues to improve, doesn't he?
Yes, totally agree. Seems every time he runs, and even after the race after the race, you see a little bit of improvement on him. Which is amazed me.
I mean, we know him as obviously a very good 4-year-old if we wind the clock back. I mean, what he was doing then as a 4-year-old was obviously superb and right out of the top draw. But to see him come all this way through now and be one of the sort of the highlights and one of the top milers here in Hong Kong, I mean, that must really please you and all the connections.
Yeah, I was so surprised, looking back like 2 years ago. I never imagined he would be up to this stage. But he's a horse that It gives you a good feel all the time. You listen to every bit of the riders. That makes a difference. He's a very easy horse to look after and to ride.
You're bringing him back to the mile, Ricky. What was the thinking behind that? Obviously, he's looked as good over maybe 2,000 metres, but was the mile always the first choice here?
Yes, always the first choice. I mean, since the last run up to 27. It's a big gap. It's quite a big gap in between. So I think putting him over a mile will be an easier task for him just to start with. Then we think about what to do later on.
And I wanted to ask you, without putting the cart before the horse, I mean, you have got a bit to think about with this horse now, because he's won those first 2 legs of the Triple Crown. Does that sort of keep you up at night, or is that just something that you're going to let happen as it happens?
Yes, but nothing keeps me awake at night. So I just. We'll go with the flow.
Yeah.
Go with the flow.
There is Ricky Yu, Nick, a different path for Voyage Bubble this year going to Sunday, because he came by Dubai 12 months ago. He's been in Hong Kong strictly.
And I loved him in the other race last year, because he'd come from Dubai where he'd had a shocking trip. And I think that probably just took the edge off him. And don't forget, the ground was terrible as well. So I think he had justifiable excuses. I think the interesting thing about this horse is that, he's had 25 odd runs in his career and has won, nearly a dozen of them. James McDonald has been on him 7 times and has won 5, including his last 4. It's not the first horse that he's turned inside out.
Yeah, he's 1,250 pounds of high quality mile stroke 2,000 metre horse, and his
that was an interesting decision, I thought, because I think the couple of times he's tried 2,000, he's almost looked better.
We ran Golden 60 close over 2,000 metres. And he makes his own luck, Mark, doesn't he?
Yep.
I know you've been a fan of this horse for a long, long time. And he met some adversity last time out in the Hong Kong Gold Cup over 2000. And still at the line, he was much, much the best. And on ratings, it looks a tremendous showdown between this horse, Voyage Bubble, and Mr. Brightside. They're both rated 120, but the 120s, time and time again, from Voyage Bubble, have been produced on this deck.
Yeah. We've had Golden 60, Graham, in previous years to highlight the mile. He's not here, but still we've got such a great clash between those two at the top of the book, and it doesn't in there.
It doesn't, and both like one of the big prices, which we'll come to in a moment. But Mr. Brightside, I want to ask you about this horse, Mike, because from a distance, it looks like he is just a watchword for high-quality bravery and consistency at the top level in Oz.
He just does not go a bad race. He's relaxed. We've seen him at track work this morning, bowling around. 9-time Group 1 winner. Craig Williams' record on him is amazing. He's a 12-time winner over 1,600 metres. It's so good with the Hayes family having Kaying Rising that the boys can bring this one up 2 on Sunday.
Yeah, and it's one thing being an international contender coming to Hong Kong, which can be a bit of a fortress, but not if you've got so much local knowledge. You know, and David Hayes has been planning this with his sons for a long time. When's the right time to come here with Mr. Brightside? When's the right time to try and burnish this horse's legacy, which at the moment is a domestic one? We've got a bit more relativity nowadays with the Australian horses, haven't we? With so many European exports going down, and this is a horse who's seen the back of Via Sistina. So, you know, we know Mr. Brightside's high class, but he wears his heart on his sleeve. I think there could be a bit more pace pressure than perhaps he'd like in the race. And I think that's why Graham and I think that there could just be a horse finishing fast at them at a bigger price who's worth using.
More on him in a minute. Last word from me, at least, on Mr. Brightside. Some people will look at the race car and say, well, he's 7 years of age. 5 horses age 7 have won this race, including a certain Golden 60 a couple of years ago. So a bit of experience and a bit of life on the hard road is no bad thing.
And he got beaten that far by Romantic Warrior in the Cox Plate at Moonee Valley going back 18 months or so ago. It doesn't end there. The Derby runner-up, the run of the Derby, Mark Newnham has thrown My Wish even further into the deep end, and this is what he told Nick.
Yeah, and look, he's been ultra consistent. I mean, he hasn't missed a place all season, and you know, he's had a few little excuses in the races he hasn't won, but you know, to come up with gate 1 at his first attempt at Group 1 against the older horses, it'll certainly help.
He's a fascinating horse, isn't he, really? I mean, for what he lacks in size and stature, he's obviously got a massive engine under the chassis there, and has he sort of surprised you in some respects as well with how well he's done?
Yeah, look, he definitely has. Look, it hasn't been a lack of talent, but early in the season and when he arrived, his temperament was a bit tricky, and you know, as he's actually had a bit more racing, he's matured mentally, and he's got a bit tougher. And now he's actually able to run to his ability, whereas, you know, previously, you know, he paraded poorly, he got very worked up, you know, every morning. He only had a, you know, poor appetite. So now all those things have improved, and you'll see on Sunday, you know, even in the Derby, he paraded really well, got to the start, saving energy. So if he can do that on Sunday again, it'll certainly give him his chance.
What a little horse this guy is, My Wish. Just all guts and determination.
Yeah, talk about 1250 pounds of muscle for Voyage Bubble, 990, 989 pounds of all heart, My Wish. And he came up with a great line, Mark Newnham, this morning's press conference. He was talking about the size angle, the weight angle, the muscle angle. And he said, if size determines speed, then a cow would beat a rabbit. So he's not worried about the weights and measures. He's worried about how good his horse is, and he clearly fancies him, Nick, to run a big race from an inside gate.
Yeah, and he's consistent and improving, and the inside gate works for this horse because he's a horse that likes to be handy. But then again, that could be his Achilles heel in this race because he's facing very fast horses who are arguably more decorated.
Was he the moral winner in the BMW Hong Kong Derby because he was drawn wide and had to cover a lot of ground?
He was a question mark at 2,000 metres, barrier 14, slow time, and he's gone that close to winning the Derby. He was the run-up the Derby.
Yeah.
So, all right. Take off the shackles. You've been hinting on one right throughout this section. You're both like, who is it?
We practically never agree on long shots in these big races, but the floor is yours, Mr. Luck. What's the one we first?
Galaxy Patch does have a verdict over Voyage Bubble. Now, admittedly, Voyage Bubble has gone, you know, a straight 4 pattern races since, including 3 Group 1s. But, you know, he's a horse who's got the ability to mix it. He's a strong finisher. He needs a strong pace to run at. He's always a horse who's likely to do better in a better race, a more contested race on a sound surface. They've put some headgear on him. Probably a good thing. Tongue tie, I'm not sure. I presupposes there's an issue we don't really know too much about. But I hope it's not a negative. I'm more encouraged by the headgear, I think.
It's all there if it all clicks. And you touched on it, Mark. It's like in a football match. He went 1 up in the first 5 minutes, first time out this season. He's now 4-1 down against Voyage Bubble. And excuses. But Nick's right. He has got one of the strongest kicks in Hong Kong racing when he gets a good gallop. and the gaps. He's got tongue tie, he's got cheek pieces. Zach Purton, who has only ridden him once, was purring about his smoothness in a trial with those cheek pieces. So we're looking for a price here, and we know we haven't got one, we have two high quality, consistent Group 1 aces to beat.
We aren't done on the preview show. There is one more Group 1 to look at. It comes up on the other side of this break when we meet the big horse, Goliath.